Sports Weekly podcast. My name is Katie Schaefer, the Iowa State Daily Sports Editor. I'm your host, and I'll let my co-host introduce himself.
I'm Ford Griffith, the Assistant Sports Editor.
Okay, Iowa State is coming off their first loss of the season against the Cincinnati Bearcats. They lost 30-38, and the Bearcats are currently unbeaten this season. This was the Bearcats' first win against a ranked team so far this season, so we saw all the Cincinnati fans storm the field, which was great to see in rough circumstances. But I think just so much happened in this game, and not a lot of good things on the Cyclone side.
Yeah, Cincinnati unbeaten in the Big 12 so far, and the first half, I think, is what we should mostly be talking about because the Cyclones battled back in the second half a lot, but the first half at one point they were down 31-7, which is just, for first half, that's not something you'd want to see, and it felt like the defense, I know having two cornerbacks out is tough, and the passing game could have gotten going for Cincinnati, but it seems like the entire defense kind of just like wasn't tackling all that well.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think a big part of it was also that they had 16 players for sure out, one that was undecided. I don't know if he ended up being out too. So we played a lot of our second string and third string, which was a little rough. But, yeah, I think Iowa State really lacked their physicality. We weren't making tackles. If they were bad.
Mm-hmm.
We had an opportunity to hit a field goal. And then our second-string kicker, Chase Smith, missed that, so that was disappointing. But I feel like we just weren't really in it, and I think a part of that was maybe due to all the injuries, but we were predicted to win, which stinks.
Yeah, I know that the predictions had Iowa State winning, but then some betting platforms had Cincinnati favored by 1.5 or something like that. So it was pretty even matched, and then with all those injuries, it just didn't feel like it was going to shape up very well for Iowa State. And like you mentioned, when they were tackling, they weren't very good tackles, and it was usually like 15 yards downfield. The Cincinnati running back, Evan Pryor, had 111 yards on 10 carries, averaging 11 yards a carry, which is not something you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had a really good game, and then Brendan Sorsby just completely tore up the Cyclone defense in the first half.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati really relied on the running game. We had Caleb Goody, who had 83 yards and one touchdown, which was crazy as well. But everybody just came prepared. But Brendan Sorsby was very impressive. He went 13 for 25 on his throws, 214 yards for passing, averaging 8.6. And he was super impressive. He just had a game plan going in. He was like unbeatable. And when I compared him to Rocco, it was unmatched, I would guess.
Yeah, I know that Rocco had more yards, more completions, but the way that Sorsby did it with only throwing 25 passes, getting 214 yards, and just tearing up the Cyclone defense, and then even on the ground, he had 9 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. So like, when you have a guy that can do it both passing and running, it's hard for the Iowa State defense to get pressure on him and stop him for a short gain. And we saw that especially in the first half. But I think it just took too long for Iowa State to like find their footing and really start playing together and as a team, and that didn't happen until late, which obviously we saw them lose.
Mm-hmm. It was very clear that Cincinnati came in prepared. They averaged a time of 2 minutes and 17 seconds for possession, which was insane. And literally in the first drive of the game, Cincinnati completed 6 plays for 80 yards in the span of 2 minutes and 28 seconds, which is one, insane. 2, are clearly showing that our defense was not where they were supposed to be. I don't know what was happening there. So overall, I feel like they just kind of dominated on every aspect of the field.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the time of possession for all their drives, but just looking at the first half, 6 plays, 80 yards. 8 plays, 62 yards. 9 plays, 70 yards. I mean, all their drives they scored on in the first half, it went touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And, I mean, if you can't get, a single stop in a half, then, I mean, I'd be surprised if you won the game. So, I mean, it makes sense after watching that first half that Iowa State couldn't win, but they put themselves in a position to have a chance late in the game. And I think part of that was because there were still some bright spots on the offense. Rocco completed 30 passes. Sure, he threw 48, but he completed 30 of them, 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. Abu Sama, 96 yards. Brett Eskelson, 8 catches for 105. There were bright spots on the offense. It just took a long time to get that going.
Yeah, and same with our wide receiver Chase Sowell, who I think got hurt 3 times during that game and just kept coming back, which, hats off to him. That's insane. But something else that really stood out to me was the amount of penalties that Cincinnati got. We went into the game averaging 2.6 penalties per game, and then Iowa State doubled that amount, with ending the game with 8 penalties for 60 yards. Cincinnati had 13 penalties for 128 yards, and one of the most crazy things for me during that game was Rocco getting brutally sacked by linebacker Simon Coleman, and Coleman was then ejected from the game, and Rocco was already looking at for a concussion and a head injury after a rough sack and play during the Arizona game. So this was a little nerve-wracking on my end, especially because, yes, we do have a second string for a reason, but Rocco has that ability to really tone it in on that last minute kind of success, and I think that's what we really needed. But he went down. He was attended to. He went to the injury tent, and 2 plays later he was back out, which is insane to him.
Yeah, I mean, that dude is a beast. The way that that hit was just brutal. I didn't think that he was going to get up. I didn't think that he was going to come back in the game. And then he jogged over to the medical tent, was high-fiving his teammates on the way over there. I was like, this dude's a psycho. But, 2 minutes later, he's running out, just running on the field, putting his helmet on, wanting to get right back in the game. And their coaches are like, no, you got to stay out for another play. But then he went right back in, and, I mean, yeah, he's definitely a warrior, and that's a good thing for Iowa State to have somebody like that leading them.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate, though, because after he went back in, I think the next play or the second play, he was sacked again in a more gentle manner, as gentle as you can be when you're getting sacked. So that kind of stunk. We did see Alex Mansky step on the field for, I think, 1 or 2 plays, which was nice, filling in for Rocco. And then another thing that really surprised me is, as we're talking about the penalties, Matt Campbell was penalized in the 4th quarter for unsportsmanlike conduct. And I don't know if the footage was out. I want to see what happened. I didn't get to see. But that was kind of surprising to me because he's known for his very calm demeanor. He can kind of keep it together on the sideline. Yes, he can you can see him get visibly frustrated, but not so much where he's penalized.
Yeah, he is a pretty mild-mannered person, and there needs to be something egregious that happens for him to really get upset and start yelling at the refs. It makes me think about, I think it was maybe 2019 or something, in the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma. There was a missed call, and Campbell just erupted on the sideline and also got a penalty then. But yeah, you don't see it very often. So it was I guess in a way kind of funny to see that happen, because it's like, I mean, this dude's you never see him act like that. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was trying to find the video, I searched it up on TikTok, Matt Campbell get penalized, and then that's the one that showed up, and I was like, man, dude's passionate. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah.
And then something else, you just wrote an article about it, but it was our second string walk-on kicker, Chase Smith, is filling in for Kyle Conradi, and that is preventing, I think was also a little bit, no hate on Chase Smith, because he's a wonderful player, But I definitely think we did have a couple faults just due to his like.
He's not at the same level as Kyle
Yes,
Konecki.
thank you. Like his, not like his lack of maturity, but just he needs practice. He needs growth. He's probably right out of high school. So I think, yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You get in these situations where you're on the other team's 30-yard line or so and shaping up. It'd be a 45-yard field goal or something, and then normally you'd just send out Kyle on a fourth down and say, "Here, let's see if you can hit this." And usually with Kyle, he drills it, but Chase Smith, you just can't have that same expectation. So it switches up the offense and forces them to go for it on fourth down a little bit more and run the offense a little differently.
And then we're also missing Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams, who are out for the season, unfortunately, with very similar injuries. But we did see a couple people step up, which one was Quentin Taylor Jr., who completed 5 tackles. And then we also have wide receiver Dominic Overby, who, although has done some pretty good things in the past, I think he really stepped up in this game and was very reliable. And then Trey Bell was phenomenal as well.
Yeah, they all had good games. They stepped up in their roles where they needed to and filled the shoes of guys that couldn't be there.
Yeah. So I think my one big thing is that I'm just worried about our game against Colorado coming up this Saturday. Mostly because we have so many people out, and I haven't even seen the injury report yet for the game. But Carson Hansen got a concussion. Don't know Rocco's status. Chase Sowell, I hope, is okay. Who else? We had a couple other.
Kyle's still out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got Colorado this upcoming weekend, and obviously going on the road to an environment like that with Deion Sanders as head coach, it'll be a test for sure. Luckily, they don't have Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders to worry about this year.
Yes. Yes, they're on my fantasy football team. Not a good choice by me. But going into the game against Colorado, Iowa State is favored. But who knows the outcome, because they were favored last game too. So that was interesting. I don't think Caden Salter he's a very talented quarterback, but I think compared to Rocco, he's just not kind of at the same level. However, again, don't know about the injuries. I don't know how Rocco's going to play. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Salter, he's a fifth-year transfer from Liberty, and last year he had a little bit of a down year compared to 2023 when he threw for almost 3,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and ran for over 1,000 yards. So he had a really good year then. I know he was on some Heisman watch list near the end of the year. But he's been banged up a little bit this year. They've had Ryan Staub have to step in and start 2 games, but Salter is a guy who is very athletic, dual threat, can throw, can run, but he can also throw interceptions. He's thrown 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions this year, so I think it's an opportunity for the Cyclones to turn him over.
Yeah, I think on Colorado's side, we also have to watch out for both wide receivers, Joseph Williams and Omarion Miller. Again, compared to Carson Hansen, who's our running back, not a lot to compare, but again, Carson is out.
Yeah, I know that Colorado has 5 wide receivers either out or doubtful for this game. I don't think that Omarion Miller or Joseph Williams are on that list, but either way, that'll be tough for Colorado to deal with, knowing that they don't have as many weapons to throw to and get involved. But I do think that the Iowa State defense has the ability to win the turnover battle. I know that through 5 games, Colorado is -3 in that aspect. So just knowing that, I think that the defensive backs who are newer, younger for the Cyclones will have to step up and kind of play with a chip on their shoulder, knowing that they're trying to fight for a spot on the team with both Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams out.
Yeah. I think there's definitely been a lot of work in practice this week after seeing the outcome of last game, which Matt Campbell talked was a lot of his fault and his play calling, which is great for him. Very mature coach, even though I did get penalized. So I think hopefully we are going to see some growth on the Cyclone side going in, but also based on so many mistakes that we made last game, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. But I also do think that this Colorado defense isn't as good as Cincinnati's. Cincinnati had really good defense coming into it.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado has given up 27 points, 36, 24, and 35. So there are a lot of chances for Iowa State to score the ball, hoping that Rocco is at full health. It'll be interesting to see how Taylor Mauser calls the plays against Colorado, just because we've seen him kind of throw some trick plays in there, run some more fun plays compared to Iowa State of the past. So I think that Mauser probably has a good plan coming into this game, and he'll get Eskildson involved, Chase Sowell involved. And, I mean, we haven't seen too much of the tight ends the past, at least against Cincinnati, so it could be another opportunity to get the tight ends involved.
Which would be great because it really surprised me that we didn't use them much, which could be because Cincinnati was preparing for them to use their tight ends, which would make sense. But I definitely think if we see Benjamin Brahmer do a couple of things, that'd be pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what he could do the first few weeks of the year, so if he can get more involved again, then I think the offense can be really well-rounded, get the receivers, running backs, and tight ends involved, and I think the Cyclones could be set up for a bounce-back win.
Iowa State will play Colorado on Colorado's home field on Saturday, October 11th. The game is going to be at 2:30 p.m. and will be watched on ESPN. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your night.